your windows. Lock your doors. Keep your loved ones near. Time is running out. It's here for fear.
This is Ear for Fear, and I'm Donovan.
Hey, and I'm Rick.
And this is the podcast where we talk about scary movies or movies trying to be scary.
Today we're going to be talking about 2017's ATERRADOS. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, also known as Terrified. Before we jump into it, let's do a quick rundown. When strange events occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires, a doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague and an ex-police officer investigate and reveal an evil that could destroy the existence of human society as we know it. All right, cool. So welcome back, Donovan. I know you've been on a little hiatus for a little bit. Nothing too exciting has happened since you left. It's still 2020, and this year really still sucks ass. So nothing's really changed. We watched some additional movies today. We're talking about this Terrified, which we're joined by Morris.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Morris actually suggested this one. So none of us had seen this, and this is a movie from Argentina, so it's in Spanish. Not that really makes a difference, but anyway,
Argentinian Spanish.
Argentinian Spanish,
yeah, because it's a little different.
A little different,
yeah.
I don't know foreign languages that well, so I thought maybe for a minute, like Argentinians had like their own language,
yeah.
So maybe they do, but it's just a variation of Spanish,
yeah.
So it's like their own kind of like dialect, but they take Spanish and they kind of tweak it to their, I don't know.
Just like Chinese, there's different dialects of Chinese.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know any foreign languages. I tried to take German in high school and I was terrible at it. I don't know any. Donovan, didn't you try to take Spanish in high school?
I took Spanish and French, but
you took
whatever.
French?
I took, in college.
You did? I don't remember this.
Well, okay.
I don't remember you ever mentioning you took French.
Yeah, I did for 2 semesters, and I only did that because I had to. The class, it was one of those classes where you had to speak the language as you were learning it. So I learned nothing. Yeah.
So you don't remember any phrases, words that you, other than the real popular ones, you know,
like je ne sais pas, like that's about it.
That's it. That's all you picked up after two
like
semesters?
I have like a vague understanding of how to pronounce words in French and Spanish, and that's about it. But I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a foreign language is something you have to just constantly use. If not, you just forget it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it.
Keep in mind, I was learning from a textbook. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I've always wanted to learn a language, but then I think about it, and it seems so like, I don't know, daunting of a task. Like I just get exhausted thinking about it, and then I move on. And it's kind of like learning to play the guitar. I'd love to do that, but then I'm like, nah, I don't have time for that. So, anyways, how do we say this, Morris? ATERRADOS. ATERRADOS. Let's just call it Terrified.
Yeah.
Can we just call it that? Okay, good.
Sure.
So we'd never seen this. Right off the bat, Donovan, what'd you think?
I'm still processing this movie. It was really weird. It was a weird movie. I'm still processing this.
All right.
So like the movie starts, and we start with, what do we start with? Clara?
Well, yeah, I think it's Claire and Juan. Is that right? It's Claire, like she's hearing the noises.
It's not Claire. It's Clara.
Clara?
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's
How do you not know? We just watched this movie.
Dude, I don't pay attention, man. When I have to read subtitles, I'm focused on the subtitles so I don't miss dialogue. I'm oblivious to the names. Morris told me the names before we started the episode. So
that's like my point exactly.
It's
You should have
Clara.
definitely known what his
yeah,
name
Clara.
was.
She's in her kitchen and she's washing dishes and about ready to start dinner, but she hears the drain sounds really weird, and then you can kind of hear voices.
Yes.
I didn't hear anything like that. I literally just heard the drain.
I heard like it almost sounded like some I don't know, whispering or humming or something. It sounded like a voice, but I didn't hear any words.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was really hard to tell what was being said, but it was they had the sound effects of the water and the it's kind of dripping down, but you can kind of hear something in the pipe.
Yeah, and didn't she just run some water thinking it would just go away?
Right.
And then it was kind of a cool effect because the little bubble, it must have been from, because she was washing dishes, that little soap bubble that forms around. And it was cool because it looked like it was expanding, like if someone was breathing inside of a bubble, it was moving up. Did you notice that?
I was half thinking that there was going to be some sort of something, some sort of special effect was going to happen. I was waiting for it, but it never did.
No, that was really all we got, But I mean, so right off the bat, I mean, okay, I guess we always forget to do this. We're going to spoil this movie. So, it's not like it's really any surprise, like say like a High Tension that we did a couple weeks ago or anything. But off the bat, okay, so Donovan's still processing. Morris, did you like this movie?
I liked it. I liked most of it. So this is a Shudder exclusive. And for the last 2 years, I've been hearing people say, and it's been in my watch list for the longest time where I haven't watched it, but I've been hearing people say, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to see it. And, and all these YouTube sites that are horror related are just saying that, don't sit on it, watch it. It's probably the scariest thing. So it built the hype up a little bit for me, which I hate that because then there's an expectation. And I'm like, okay, what am I missing? Because that's you're my thing. We're looking for the next big scare.
We were, and
which we found with Hereditary, but we'll get to that some other day.
Yeah.
But this one, I was expecting that. For the most part, there was some pretty creepy parts, but I think because of the low budget, it kind of, lack of a better way of explaining, I would say, there were some letdowns, and I think that's mainly because I did have an expectation.
I did too. I had saw the poster for this. I don't think I ever saw a trailer for it. I remember the poster though.
Yeah,
and more than likely, I probably saw the image on Shudder watching something.
Yeah,
maybe it popped up. So I did remember that, but. And you had suggested it. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. None of us had seen it.
Subtitled
movie, but I'm down for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I bring this up a lot because we seem to do a lot of movies with subtitles, and I'm not a fan of reading them. But I'm noticing that there's a lot of really good movies in other countries these days.
Yeah,
not that there wasn't any before, but I don't know. Maybe it's just. We're just seeing more of them or because we have so much access to everything now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good movies out there.
There is.
This is a good movie. I like this movie. It's not super scary though. I told Donovan ahead of time. I said, "Oh man, this is gonna be super scary, man. Let's get let's turn all the lights off and let's close the curtains and And Donovan's like, this isn't gonna be scary. I'm like, it's gonna be scary.
Did you guys watch it today?
We did. We watched it.
Okay.
We watched it this morning, so
So if you were in your house by yourself and you knew nobody was coming to the house, like if you didn't have Andrea over. And say it was like raining outside and it was dark and you watched this by yourself. There's some parts in here that probably would have left you a little uneasy.
Yeah. There was a few that got Donovan and I. There was one particular part that scared the crap out of us. Just didn't see it coming. But I mean, I don't know. Probably. I guess I'd have to be in that situation and do that. I mean, but it just wasn't super.
No,
it wasn't super scary. I mean, I wanted it to be really scary and creepy, but it was still a good movie. Like I thought the acting was good. Music was fantastic.
Yeah.
There were some really, cool, interesting, kind of scary parts in it. But as a whole, it wasn't like anything I had never really seen before.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, the story kind of confused me a little bit because, and I don't know, maybe I just missed this, but did they explain what it was? Is it, I mean, what caused this?
And they didn't explain it.
They didn't,
so,
right?
So it's basically, it was like a haunted block.
Okay. So, but it really consisted of 3 homes.
3, yeah.
And why just 3 homes?
Exactly.
Well, you see, I wish they would have explained that.
They kind of explained it.
They did?
They had like an offhand explanation by one of those medium type people.
Oh,
This paranormal researcher.
yeah.
The woman.
Oh, the doctor.
Oh,
Doctor something another.
Dr. A, I think.
Dr. Albrecht.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. A.
Yeah.
So she, right before she dies, she mentions something about something in the water, but they're made multiple dimensions, and these guys, microscopic, are able to go through the water or something. It wasn't a good explanation, but it's kind of there.
Yeah.
This movie is presented really weird because you got one movie at the start, and then you go into another movie for like 10 minutes. Then you get into like the actual movie, which takes place through the rest of it.
Yeah.
Then you go back into that sandwich narrative, the other part of the bread at the very end with, the husband or the boyfriend or whatever. So yeah, the presentation of this movie is really weird. And same thing with like the explanation. And if you're going to, it's probably best that you just don't even try to do it,
That's
just
true.
keep it. It's a paranormal movie. I actually think this movie's a little problematic because I don't like when people try to bring science into like paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Because now you're trying to like justify the spiritual with science, and it's not going to happen.
No.
So then you get people being led to believe that this stuff can be proven when it's not. But that's like for a different podcast. That's not for us to discuss.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Should we break this down? Or
Do what?
oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say, should we break this down from the scene to scene?
Yeah, we're gonna do that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
But my point is that the movie's presented in a weird way. So like the mythology behind it being like weird, that makes sense because the movie's kind of like struggling to figure itself out. You know?
Right. Like I couldn't. Yeah. That's exactly it. I couldn't figure out what it was trying to do.
The actual scares are pretty cool. A lot of the spectacle stuff was cool. I liked a lot of that. But then you get like this movie turns into like 30 minutes of like cops talking to each other.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, what am I watching now? This wasn't the movie I signed up for. Like, why am I in some sort of like CSI episode? We can start talking about like the plot of the movie. The movie begins with Clara and her husband/boyfriend. I'm not quite sure what their relationship is.
Yeah.
But they're living together.
Yeah.
She claims to have heard voices in the sink. He inspects it, doesn't find anything, thinks it's the next door neighbor who's been remodeling, quote unquote, his house. We'll come to see him a little bit later.
Walter?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he makes mention of a dog that they had ran over that I thought was going to come up in the movie at some point.
So
Maybe
did I.
this was like cut at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
But apparently this dog seemed very dead, but then he comes back up and is alive. So, like, oh yeah, we didn't actually kill that dog. And, even if we don't see like payoff for that at some point, we can at least clue in on this little detail that, oh yeah, weird stuff has been happening here for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like super strange things. So maybe Clara's, like her hearing voices make sense.
Mhm.
So bedtime, Clara gets up, goes to take a shower like 5 a.m. in the morning or something like that. And our boyfriend character thinks that he's hearing Walter bang on the door or bang on something.
Yeah, he's like banging on the wall or
Banging
something.
on the wall.
Yeah.
So he goes next door, makes a ruckus. Walter isn't there. He just, he goes on the intercom. He can hear like something, but not Walter probably. Goes back and then he goes in the bathroom. Turns out that banging he was here was most likely Clara's like floating body being banged against the bathroom walls.
Yeah, she's moving from left to right and just
she's
She's hitting. Yeah, she's
there's like blood everywhere, right?
she's beating herself to death or something is
something is.
I mean,
an entity.
She's like floating.
Yeah.
She's like unconscious. So I don't think she's doing it herself.
No,
but,
she is floating from left to right, hitting the walls, and that's what he's been hearing the whole time. What sucked is when I was looking at images for this, I came across that image, so I knew that was coming, and I was mad at myself because I ruined it. I'm like, damn it, I know he's gonna find her in the bathroom, son of a bitch. But yeah, I mean, she's banging back and forth, hitting back and forth, and and of course they think that they arrest him, right, because they think he did it.
Well, they can't find her body.
Where the hell did her body go?
So that's just it. Her body disappeared
again,
but her blood was everywhere.
They do this at the very end with that lady, Dr. A. Albrecht, saying that they can use your bodies for whatever. So they most like whatever's there probably used her body.
Yeah,
I don't know, vessel type of thing.
And used it up, and then it just disappears.
I'm saying like maybe as like like a mouse going into like a human sized robot. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah,
the movie's not clear.
It's not. And do we know? I mean, we've talked about other movies. One Cut of the Dead, which we loved. Morris, you still need to watch that. That was a brilliant movie. There was no questions after that movie was over. When we watched A Tale of Two Sisters, there was some gray area there that there wasn't explanations, and I don't know if it's just if this is some sort of like language barrier or something. When the translation comes over to us, is something being lost in translation there, where we're maybe like say A Tale of Two Sisters, I think is Korean. I can't remember. Was it South Korean, Donovan? I think it was South Korean.
Nothing comes out of North Korea.
No, nothing comes out. Okay, so South Korean. So maybe there, all the questions that we had are answered because it's maybe the language is different. I don't know. But when we get it, sometimes I notice there's a lot of questions. Goodnight Mommy was another one where we had some questions on some of this stuff. Where
I think for me that even if it is from another country, I don't think there's lost in translation. I think anything that deals with paranormal, there's going to be questions. Another South Korean movie that I'm sure you'll talk about in the podcast at some point is Train to Busan. I didn't have any questions with that.
No,
that was a phenomenal movie.
That's a great movie, but it's a zombie movie.
Yeah.
Those types of movies, like you were just saying, those types of movies are cut and dry.
Yeah.
Someone gets infected or however it is, and then everyone starts dying. And there's a few people that are trying to survive, and that is a great movie. But with these, Paranormal. There's just, I just explain it better. I don't know.
Think about even Paranormal Activity. There's questions there. We're not super clear on what the entity was, and that possessed the lady.
I don't know.
I think you have a good question there, just not for this movie. This movie doesn't explain itself well.
Yeah,
and you're not speaking Spanish or being from Argentina. It doesn't. It's
not going to hinder.
That's not going to fix it.
Yeah.
Now there are things that you can probably argue in like A Tale of Two Sisters, where there's like cultural things going on, where like there's a lot of Western or European fairy tales that we're very familiar with that can then, like South Korea might have their own fairy tales that have not come here or that aren't commonly told here. And that could be common knowledge over there. So if there's ever allusions to those tales, it could be lost on us. In the same way, like not everybody might know like the Three Bears, but we do. Yeah, but this movie doesn't. This movie, I don't think, is pulling on anything from like that type of mythos where like everyone would know.
Yeah.
So this movie is just creating its own sort of universe and then not properly explaining it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But if you're going to give breadcrumbs, they should be sort of logical. And I think what's kind of given here is like it isn't. It's like straddling this like seesaw, and it's not like sort of leaning in any one area. And if you guys are having like an issue with this, then obviously it was a problem, and maybe they should have either explained more of it or not sought to attempt to explain it at all
via that little speech by the Dr. A.
Well, she didn't really speech it. She just was like, "This is what I think, and this is what's happening, and I'm gonna die like a second later."
Yeah, the explanation before she got whatever,
But yeah, like it is like that's a really great question. Japanese media, I get into that a little bit, little anime, little comics.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things that it's hard to translate. Like a very popular anime comic called Naruto had like this thing that its character did. and the English translation of this like catchphrase that he did sounded terrible in English, but it didn't like really have like, I wish I was more educated on this, but I'm not because I never watched it or read it. Like the translation wasn't good. So like it actually became annoying, whereas in the original work, it was not that. So like there are things that are like sort of translated poorly because there might not be a good translation available. But again, that's not this movie. Like,
no, I did notice when we were reading it, there were a lot of missing letters, and I don't know.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. Oh,
Shudder. I mean, Shudder, you got to look into this. The subtitles for this movie were quite bad in English.
They were bad. Yeah.
First of all, you commit the cardinal sin. You have yellow text. I mean, you probably do white text with with a big bold black outline, so it's easily readable or legible. And two, you gotta do some QC on that thing.
That was bad. Did you notice it, Morris? Because like, it had but it was supposed to be they or their. There were all these missing letters and stuff. That. Didn't even like. I'm like, okay, well, I can figure what that is supposed to be, but it's not. And
they also just like flat out missed a bunch of lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
When the cop was talking.
Oh yeah, I remember
to Dr. Albrecht.
Oh yes.
Like there was like at least 2 lines of dialogue that he spoke that was just missing. And I don't, the only word I picked out was tambien, which means also. That's the only word I got. I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, sometimes I notice in movies, you're watching a movie and half the dialogue will be English and half will be in whatever language. And I notice sometimes when they're in that other language, there's no subtitles.
Yeah.
And I just chalk it up as it's done intentionally. And that's what I thought in this movie. Like, but I mean, now we're talking about it. Well, we don't know this language. And so why is he talking and we're not seeing anything?
Right.
Yeah, they really need to fix that up. Have you watched anything else on Shudder that had like from another country that had similar, problems with it?
Oh God, I did watch,
because I thought there was another one.
I did watch another movie last month, but
I just wonder if it's just maybe it's just an isolated incident.
It might be that there might be more, but for this one, I think it's just
they kind of dropped the ball on this. They really should have looked that over, had a couple people, because
they need to throw some money at it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is supposed to be an original work of theirs, or are they just?
I think they bought the rights.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was they were looking for just an American distributor.
Okay.
And Shudder picked it up.
Is that's how it works? So like they make a movie and they no one buys it and Shudder comes in, they go, oh, we'll do it, and then they call it a Shudder exclusive or something. Oh, okay. Well, so it's not like it's Shudder themselves.
Netflix will do the same thing.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Netflix does this a lot.
Yeah.
And what do they say at the beginning, like in a Netflix, an original?
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's totally not.
It's very disingenuous. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's not cool. That's like a false advertising
cool at all.
Or something. But
so that's movie number 1. Movie number 2 starts with Walter. We see it from his perspective. We see like what the remodeling is. Turns out it's some giant pale guy going around his house and moving shit around, just being super annoying. But this is also where we're sort of like introduced to like this different perspectives type of thing, because he's under the bed, but he's also not under the bed.
Yeah.
He's in the armoire, but he's also not in the armoire.
Yeah.
And so this entire time, Walter is trying to get proof. Now, I don't know if a guy's creating this much of a fuss. Well, okay. So whoever he's calling doesn't actually say why they can't go and see his place or whatever.
Oh, that's Dr. Albrecht.
Okay,
but it's
never like explained why she couldn't go. I think her like his sister or whatever.
Her
just
sister
says,
was being an asshole.
Was that the case? I just thought like she was preoccupied, but with what?
Other cases maybe, but I'm just thinking that she just wasn't taking the assistant wasn't taking it seriously.
That's what I took it.
I mean, for me, it's like, okay, let's not push the plot too far, otherwise we don't have this story to tell.
Right,
that's kind of what it is for me.
But do you notice how? Every time he'd go to work, he was just plagued with being on the phone. When they made it a point to show the other workers working in the background.
Yeah.
And then first day they show him with like 3 empty coffee cups on his desk, and then they showed him with more, stacked.
Oh, actually,
because he's losing sleep.
Because he said he hadn't slept in weeks, right?
And I wouldn't be able to sleep in that place.
I wouldn't be in that.
I wouldn't be in that
dude,
place.
I'd be like, I call up a buddy. Do you have can I come crash? Because
I was hoping for something like explanation like that too. When you got, I mean, is the same night he got video proof the same he got locked in? I think so, right?
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
But he, like stuff is going on. You don't stay in the place anymore.
No.
I mean, I like show me him going to friends or family and then getting turned down at least. You know, like make him into a madman because that's essentially what he is. But then he doesn't do that. I hate it when movies miss opportunities like these. And I don't know if it's because it's laziness or they didn't think of it or, you know, just through the complicated movie making process, they didn't do it. But, you know, it's like these are very simple things. Your audience is going to think about it, address it, and it's not being addressed. It's a nitpicky thing. I'm not going to like hammer home like every movie needs to like address every little problem that or logical inconsistency that pops up. But things are moving around in this house. Poltergeist stuff are happening. He's trying to call someone, but in the meantime, just like couch surf, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, the explanation of that could be it's a low budget movie. If he's got friends, it's one or two more actors we got to pay, and it's another location we got to scout, and so it could be just as simple as that.
Yeah.
Or maybe the guy just
doesn't have
no
any,
one likes him. Man.
Yeah, he doesn't have any friends.
He seemed like a nice enough guy, other than you know all this shit that's happening to him. But
another thing that just like I'm just gonna bring it up. Like, are you guys tired of like visual language tropes? Like the coffee cup thing. That's like one thing. Like you got like a really harried character and they can't get any sleep or whatever, so they're drinking a bunch of coffee. But they have like 30 cups at their desk. Wouldn't you just have like one cup? You know, like, but the only reason you have 30 cups there is so like the audience knows
he's
they're
not
drinking a lot of coffee.
He's drinking a lot of coffee. He's not getting any sleep.
But it's like, okay, so that's just film language.
Yeah.
But I'm maybe I'm just getting older and I'm getting tired of it. Like, isn't there like a better way to go about doing this? Like, I know if I was watching Better Call Saul or something, there'd be like a really sweet montage of like Jimmy like downing a bunch of coffees or something with some sweet music, you know?
Yeah.
But instead of here, we just get like 3 styrofoam cups or whatever. And then he's like drinking an empty one because, you know, it's movies. There's never liquid in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just getting a little tired of it. I'm just going to bring it up. A little spiel done. We can move on. So the culmination of the story is he videotapes the Pale Man, and then the Pale Man comes and gets him. We don't know actually what happens. We know that he had a gun. We know he didn't get a shot off. And even if he did, it probably didn't work out too well because we don't see Walter again, at least for most of the movie.
For most of the movie, yeah.
And that's the end of movie 2.
And real quick, I'm sorry, guys. Did the Pale Man scare you at all?
There were a couple parts where he
didn't. Out of all the entities, he's the one that I was hoping he'd scare me, but he didn't really get me.
No,
I'm a big like I'm really scared of things that seem normal or like are trying to like they're branching off of what is normal into like weird territory. Like Junji Ito does that a lot. He's a horror comic book writer.
Yeah.
And he just distorts the human body. And the Pale Man is like really tall. His limbs sort of bend in weird areas. He doesn't walk normally, and his neck seems to be a little strange.
Yeah.
Then of course his face is all weird. So yeah, it kind of scares me. But it's also just like this idea of like this thing being there with me that I can't see, but I know can get me. Yeah, that's also very scary.
Yeah, that's the thing, because we've seen these characters or these monsters or whatever these are in other movies.
Yeah,
we've seen the long-haired, black-haired woman in all of these. The Grudge and
or
Ring,
Mama.
We have seen that to death, and we've seen this type of guy thing before. It's how you present it or convey it. And there were a few times that it was very effective when we see him under the bed for the first time and he's all contorted, like his leg almost looks like it's broken off or like broken, and it's tweaked in some weird direction. And it's little things like that. It's looking in on the camera and you see the guy, you're sleeping, and he's just standing there looking over you, little things like that. Those are effective. But we've seen the actual creature before. It's not like it's, they just do it a little differently, but as a whole, there were parts that did scare me with that character, the Pale Man, I guess we'll call him Matt. Is that his name? The Pale Man?
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at footage back and you see something standing over your bed while you're sleeping.
Oh yeah. Dude.
I think that would, if I was real, that would scare you. you know, in your,
dude, yeah, I'd be shitting my pants.
Yeah.
Look, let's be honest, and I've said this in the past. We can talk about these movies because they're movies; they're not real. If this shit is happening in real life, I'm not staying in that house.
No.
And let's just say I had no other place to go. I don't even know what I would be doing. But I'd be, dude, I saw that footage. I am out. I don't know. I'll go stay in my car. I'll go. I don't know. I'm not there, man. But it's not reality.
Yeah.
You know, these are just movies. And so, you know, if you're presented with a situation like that, you're gonna act far differently, you know, than I would say half of these individuals in these movies.
Oh, yeah.
And all of us have seen so many of these movies, and we know most of the time what's coming. And we just go kind of sometimes we roll our eyes and it's like, oh, that. But dude, in real life,
oh yeah,
of course we know it's not gonna happen. But if it fucking did, dude, that shit is scary. I'm shitting my drawers, man. I'm sorry, man. And I don't care what anyone says, man. I'm shitting my drawers, man. When you're presented with a situation like that, fuck that, dude. I'm out. I'm out. I am not staying in that house, man. So, anyways, that's my rant on that.
Walter presumably dies, and then we go to the boyfriend. He's being interviewed by 3 people that we're not familiar with.
He's the cop, right? He's a cop. Is this?
Oh no,
we're not there yet, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Juan was talking about.
Yeah.
You're skipping. Wait. Oh, actually, you might be right.
Yeah.
Maybe like the Walter thing happens, and then like Walter's like, hey, to some kid who's like like trying to sip water from like his garden faucet.
Oh, but was it Walter? Because it sounded like Walter, and you saw the blind peek down. But remember, Walter apparently shot at the Pale Man. We can't really tell what the timeline is.
So do you think it's the Pale Man, but Walter's inside of him, or it's the Pale Man and he's using Walter's voice?
It's up in the air. I mean, the language that entity uses says it's for your own good.
Yeah.
I mean, if like that wasn't Walter, it'd be a very strange thing to say.
True.
But then you could also make the argument that he's just like sort of antagonizing the kid to get him to move backwards.
Yeah.
Because it somehow knew the bus was coming to run him over.
Right. That bus was going pretty fast down that street.
True.
And that like neighborhood is like 10 feet long. So yeah, it's really strange how, you know,
that bus was like
like that bus was like booking it. But yeah, it kills the kid. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the kid dies, and then we get that spiel, or that we get like movie 2.5, movie 3 with the kid. But now I don't know if we've had the interview with the boyfriend yet. Has that happened yet?
No,
it's not important.
That actually happens at the very end.
No, there's 2.
Yeah, there's 2 interviews with Juan.
Has the first interview happened yet? It's not important. It's not important. So that happens too, where we get these 3 sort of paranormal researchers looking into his neighborhood, and they need him to sign in order to stay at the residences, whatever.
Oh, that's with Juan, the one that had Clara disappear, and that was in the beginning.
And then you get the kid thing, and the kid thing leads into Alicia, the mom, grieving. We get into the boyfriend cop, and then we get into wait, I thought Juan was the old cop guy.
No, Juan is
Juan's I think the
So we got Funes is the guy's name. Funes
is Juan. Is it
Funes
whatever.
is the one with the bad heart.
No, I think you're thinking it's not Juan. It's like Jono or Juano or something.
Yeah, it was like a weird name. You know,
Jono.
American.
Jono. I'm not sure.
I want to call him. He is. The funny thing is when I saw him, I thought of. I go, okay, here's Argentinian John Saxon. He's being woken up in the middle of the night.
Oh,
so Funes, who was his partner, said, "Hey, Jono, we got a situation. Can you come over to Alicia's house?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "Okay, I'll be there in just a few minutes." So Funes meets him at the front of the house. He's like, "Do you scare easy? Because this is kind of creepy." And he's like, yeah, let's go for it, because he's like I want to say that he worked, obviously in the police station, but he's also a paranormal guy himself.
Yeah, that's what I get that impression as well. Like he's into that, because I think later on in the movie he's talking to the doctor about attending some of her, I don't know, conferences or whatever. Again, that's not explained completely either. Right. Did you find the boy?
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
Don't say that yet.
Well, go ahead.
So Funes is the boyfriend of Alicia, who the little boy died. So, but he's also a cop with a bad heart that's going to be retiring like within a month or a week.
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he's leading Jono, the paranormal guy, into the kitchen, and then we see the little corpse boy sitting there.
Yeah.
And that little whatever thing that they made, that creeped me the hell out.
Did it really?
Yeah.
It was okay for me. It didn't really. I think what was more creepier for me was just the fact that there was a bowl of, looked like maybe cereal or something, had milk in it.
Yeah, it was Fruit Loops.
Was it Fruit Loops? Okay. Yeah. I think it took something away for me having the boy there. Like it wasn't scary for me because
if they had done it differently, you would have definitely been scared by it.
Yes.
It's a very like unsettling idea for this corpse to have escaped its grave, gone into the kitchen, and made itself a bowl of cereal.
Oh, and apparently left mud on the floor and on the ceiling of the porch.
Yeah, like it was trying to like walk up all that.
Yes.
Oh, well, it did walk up all that stuff.
Walls in the hands.
I think it would have been scarier for me if I saw that versus him just sitting there at the table. More really, it was just kind of like a statue. We see him move a little bit, when his neighborhood friend, shows up and comes into the kitchen, but it wasn't that scary for me.
It's almost a little bit like a monkey paw story.
Yeah.
And you're familiar with the monkey's paw.
Oh yeah.
So it almost seems like the aftermath of the monkey's paw. It's like, my child came back to me.
Yeah.
And he's there, but he's.
I mean, anyone who's familiar with like Pet Cemetery knows what's up.
Oh, for sure.
With like a monkey paw story.
Yeah.
Basically, you can like wish like, I want to be the fastest person on the track team. But in order to do that, like all the other track team members just die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're the fastest now, but you're also the only one.
Yeah.
So that's also like a reference to an anime that I watched, but let's not talk about it. So like, I think the presentation here could have been far more scary. Like we even have something similar to this in Hereditary. The thing is, if you have like a very unsettling idea, you have to make it the centerpiece of your scene. And that whole scene was more so like exposition, talking about the paranormal stuff. And it would frequently cut away from the boy. The boy needs to be like in the shot the entire time. We need to think it's going to move at any point.
Yes.
But it got to a point where like, I know the kid's been told not to move at all. So he's not going to move, or like whatever. If this is a doll, it's not going to move, obviously. And they only make it move one time, and that's with the friend. Well, yes, but that's also off screen, which is fine. Yeah. But then there has to be a threat here, and the threat very quickly dissipates. And the only time ever it comes back is actually when the boy's off screen with the milk thing, or when he's in the freezer. So a missed opportunity here, and this is also where then we get super boring. Where the movie is just talking.
It got boring.
Yeah.
Donovan's absolutely 100% right.
And again, they try to move into like this CSI territory.
Yeah, a little too much crime exposition.
Yeah, way too much.
Like seeking to explain sort of what's going on. The old cops' experience with the paranormal, all this stuff, and it sort of takes away. I think the intent was to build mystery and to make everything that comes a little bit later have grounding and to make it scarier by way of setup. But it actually just bored me. So there was definitely a misstep in all the stuff that was happening here.
So let me ask you a question. So we've seen that type of situation before, say like in the first Conjuring movie when they're setting up all the equipment, and then obviously they're talking and they're waiting, and we're waiting for something to be recorded and happen. Would you say that was more effective, the way that they did that in the Conjuring, opposed to this movie? Even
a movie we actually talked to on this podcast is a way better in The Changeling. Remember like when he's listening through the tape, and he's going, he's reversing it, playing it again, reversing it, playing it again. Like he's just making sure,
turning up the volume.
And there's like a rhythm to the scares, and there's like it's like every single time he reverses and plays it again, it's like a punctuation mark, like this is actually happening. But it's also doing this really cool film stuff where you've got the audio and the cuts all sort of coming together. So that's very effective. This movie is just like, let me explain words at you and have nothing else happening. And that's what makes it boring. So yeah, like other movies do it better. Even Poltergeist does it better. Like every movie that kind of does it better that I've seen and that I remember.
Yeah,
this movie is trying to is definitely emulating it, but it's not hitting the same notes.
I think there's too many quiet moments with characters to where I think conversation flowed better to where we didn't really care that it was boring or not.
Well, in your exposition, you also have to establish stakes or the danger. And they don't really do that. Like with the old guy, he's like, these two corpses talk to me. Okay, well, what will happen next? Well, nothing, I guess. So if you see these spirits or like if you like come across these paranormal entities in this neighborhood, what happens?
Yeah.
Is it a deathly threat? I mean, we as an audience probably know because we're watching a horror movie. What else are we going to expect?
Yeah.
But and that gets to another point. We're talking a little bit about like the ineptitude of these researchers. Like, what the fuck were you thinking?
I know, by splitting up.
So not only splitting up, but having no way to combat like whatever you might face, where you're just expecting to take some pictures and leave. Then why would you stay after you get stabbed? I don't know. There's a lot of like weird, stupid shit that happens with those guys. But it is like this question of, well, if you're talking a lot, why should I care? You need to establish something with your exposition. And if you're not doing that, then I'm bored. And again, that could be what are we going to face? Stakes/dangers, character motivation. I don't know. I'm sure there are other examples that I can't think of off the top of my head just because I'm not a super smart guy. But there are other things you could be doing in your dialogue that just weren't happening here. And if you're going to then fall back onto the excuse of, well, they're adding to the mystique and the lore of this world. Well, I mean, I would argue that's a very boring world then.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that. My opinion is it boils down to, Morris, you mentioned The Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
They did that, but it didn't drag on for 30 minutes. It was maybe 5 to 15 minutes of that. But again, we've talked about James Wan. He understands this genre, dude.
Well,
he's really.
I think the conversations flowed more, and there was more characters that were, because they were setting up stuff. Remember the false. They're like, oh, what was that? And then they find that the guy went to the bathroom.
Exactly.
And then people split off, and then he saw.
But it's the difference between a great filmmaker and just an okay filmmaker. Look, we're not filmmakers. Mm-hmm. We would probably stink, at it. And we can sit here and we can talk about films and we can critique them and we can dissect them and pick them apart and all these things. But come on, reality is we're not great. We're not filmmakers at all. So we can sit here and we can do that. But there is a difference. And you know this, both of you guys have seen thousands of movies over the years, and that's probably being real generous. I mean, who knows, tens of thousands, who knows? But there is a difference between a good filmmaker and just an okay filmmaker. Mm-hmm. James Wan is a great filmmaker. He is, especially when he's doing horror. I don't know who directed this movie, and maybe it's his first movie or second, and they're just, it's working through all of those things. So, let's do 30 minutes of dialogue, but it doesn't get anywhere and it becomes quite boring. And that's the difference, and
exactly.
so, and again, it's execution, man. I mean, James Wan knows how to execute stuff, man. He can build up the tension and then it delivers. And this had some cool stuff. It had some cool ideas. It's just, again, it's just execution. It fell a little flat for me. They didn't convey stuff the way I think I would have liked to them have conveyed it. We're talking here and we have questions. A lot of stuff wasn't answered. So, again, it's the difference, man, so, but anyways.
I mean, I can give you the name of the director. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, just like I did with the word. Demian Brugna. There's no way that's what it's pronounced.
Okay.
Probably.
Has he
but I can give you his like filmography real quick.
Yeah. I'm just curious,
see what else this guy's done.
Yeah.
So director or writer, what do you want?
I say director.
You don't know who you're talking to in 2016, and then a bunch of shorts before that. So yeah, this is probably his second feature.
So second feature
that he's directed.
So he could do a couple. I mean, like I said, this is a good movie. It's just not a great movie, and it's not super scary like everyone builds it up to be. It's still a good movie. Acting is great. Music is phenomenal in this, man.
Mm-hmm.
Music killed it in this.
Yeah.
You know, this reminded me of some of the movies in the 70s and 80s that we've talked about that have that great kind of instrumental, you know, violin or cello, and just they do it right. And music was phenomenal. It's not a bad movie. You know, in 3 or 4, you know, he could get another 3 or 4 films from now, and we in a couple of years from now, we're talking about some other movie that he did, and he just killed it because it took him a little bit,
right.
You know. Some people just have that it factor, man. You know, we talk about Quentin Tarantino on this podcast all the time. Quentin Tarantino has that it factor, man. You know, Steven Spielberg. You know, Donovan, what other directors? Christopher Nolan, maybe, would you say, you know, has, like, what directors do you feel that have the it factor that right off the gate, they just kill it?
Right off the gate?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Quentin Tarantino, obviously. Well, Did you already say that?
We already mentioned him.
Sorry, I was looking something up real fast.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like, because
I would have to say De Palma.
Brian De Palma. Yeah.
Because I've seen Sisters and, you know, Carrie. Those are, you know, his earliest works, but he fucking killed it with those.
See, and some of those, you just have it. And some people take a little while to have it. Sam Raimi has it. You know, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you know, Evil Dead is
if we want to talk like not like director Michael Schur kills it. I mean, dude, he worked on The Office, Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like The Good Place. Dude, just like bam, 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 bam.
So there you
hit
go.
After hit after hit after hit.
See, there you go. I mean, it's just, you know, it's like sometimes in sports, you know, you can have the talent, but over time you just get better because you've developed your skills. Some people, man, they have it at like 15 and they're just good at 15 or 18 in the rest of their career. It's just the difference between someone that's making 300 million in a contract and say 50 million. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, you know, you're still good. You're still better than, you know, us sitting here talking about this, but some people just have that it factor, man, you know, and like we were saying, Sam Raimi, the Quintins, I think James Wan, I would definitely. Rob Reiner.
I think everything he's ever done, he's killed.
Yeah,
it.
I mean, you know, so there's, we know Steven Spielberg. I mean, you know, he's just a phenomenal director and storyteller, man. I mean, so, you know, some people just have it, you know, and some people it takes a little while for them to develop it, and maybe that's this situation. Hell, we're talking about this, and there could be 30 minutes of footage they didn't put in this movie that explains all of this stuff, and if so, shame on them for not putting it in so that we are not questioning all this stuff, right. You know.
There is good stuff in this movie.
There is. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want that to be ignored. Like the scene with Clara in the bathroom, I think is like a really great scene. A lot of the stuff in the Walter house is really cool. I guess that's about it. That's my favorite stuff.
The boy stuff to me just wasn't scary. Like, I would have rather seen the boy, like, I don't know, he's creeping around the house or something. Him just sitting there at the table, the lights are on. It's not scary for me.
Or if you flicked off the light and then you flicked it on and then he's not there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's been done before.
It has been.
I mean, you know, several times. But I mean, that brings us to the one scene where the three. Okay, so the doctor, what's Dr. Albrecht, and then you had her. Is this her assistant or a colleague? I don't know.
Colleague. So his name is,
and he's so they basically all split up.
Rosentalk.
Rosentalk,
and he's an American actually.
Okay, so all him and the doctor and Jono. Is it Jono? Jono, I'll go to these 3 different. I mean, why are you splitting them up? Yeah. I mean, okay, whatever. And
then they had Funes go with Rosentalk. They went to Walter's house, and then you have Dr. Albrecht that went to Juan and Clara's house.
Okay,
and then you have Jono go to Alicia's house.
It's just, to me, I could see if it was like all 3 houses are like next to each other and this is happening. Okay, we can explain it by, I don't know, something. But you got 2 houses next to each other and one across the street. Yeah. I'm just trying to understand. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it's, you know.
I would have sent a bigger team.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, again, again, maybe this is a budget situation.
Yeah.
Dude, stop bringing that up,
Well,
man.
it is. If you're on a low budget, you got to pay actors.
But more points still stands. It's like, okay, if there's an issue that's, like a logical issue, like why didn't they bring more people? Why don't these people have an assistant? Then like give me a line of dialogue. Like
I agree.
Like in Thank You for Smoking, there's that really great line by oh man, I forget his name. He's in I'm so angry.
The main guy?
He's doing a podcast now. He was in Parks and Rec. He had a problematic history. He's really handsome. He's in his 50s now.
Oh,
You guys can't help me out with this.
I'm sorry, I don't know who you're talking about.
He's the one who says literally a lot.
Oh no,
Oh my God.
I can't think of the actor's name. I love the movie. It's a great
he's
movie.
in Tommy Boy.
Oh, Rob Lowe.
Thank you.
Oh,
Rob Lowe.
oh God, that's right. Rob Lowe was in that because that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, because he was the one trying to wasn't he trying to sell them on the whole cigarette? Because he was a director or something. Yeah.
So, exactly. So like, okay, so why are they smoking in space? Well, there's a blah 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 blah.
Yes.
So address the point.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Yes, they should have, but they didn't. And so, I'm just trying to explain why they didn't have additional people.
I'm just saying that you can throw budget as like a Band-Aid answer to anything.
True. You can.
So like
You can. So anyways, we know the three of them are at each of them are at home, and Funes is with whatever his name, Rosentalk.
Yeah.
Is any one of the homes more, I don't know, haunted than the other? Like, could we argue Walters is?
Walters is
right.
Creepier because it's just all in shambles, and
Alicia's house wasn't even haunted. It's just the kid showed up there after he died. You know what I mean?
But it's like,
well, I don't know though, because we know that Jono gets whatever happens to him.
But wasn't that the pale man coming from across the street?
Yeah,
and then
that's true.
Affected him.
That scared Donovan and I. Holy shit! We screamed.
I think we both knew it was coming too. Still got us.
Yeah, we screamed
like, I can
like
see
little
him
bitches.
In the window.
Yeah, like I know he kept moving. He's like, well, I see it, and then all of a sudden it was there.
It was also like classic peekaboo. Like it's like a game. Like, oh yeah, there he is. There he isn't. There he is. There he isn't. And you're expecting something to happen. And you finally get the Jack in the Box thing, and it's like,
I was expecting like he's right behind you. He's gonna stab you or something like that. That's what I was expecting, and we didn't.
Well, he did get stabbed off screen, basically in the eyes.
Is that where was the glass? Like the glass, I think, broke into his eyes. I think that's what they were saying.
Oh yeah,
something because the glass was all over the place, and then what was he? Was he trapped inside of some like what was this? Some
it was
TV
like a
stand, or
it was like
I don't know what it was.
Like a buffet table.
So let's say explain this to me. So inside of Walter's house, you got Rosentalk and you got Jono.
No,
Funes. Yeah. So how can Rosentalk see the Pell Man at a different angle? So if in the light he can't see them, but if he goes to the dark part of the room, he can see them under the bed.
No, it had nothing to do with it being dark.
Then what was it? Explain that.
He was seeing it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
the movie. That's what the movie is saying.
Okay.
Will I be able to explain it any differently than that, or try to elucidate it? No.
Yeah,
but this movie's like playing with this idea that there's two dimensions. So if you look at it from one way, you get ours. You look at it from another way, you get theirs.
Yeah.
But and these beings are like somehow being able to mix between the two.
Yeah, they can cross over.
So
there's little like, I guess you could say little slight doors that they could pass through. To get into ours and to leave into theirs. So
this Pell Man with Walter, was it just over time he just wore him down with the moving the shit and keeping him up? What was the Pell Man's end game here?
You don't know.
Yeah, see, again, too many unanswered questions.
And the weird thing too, it didn't look like there was two Pale Men.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
I kind of was hoping that. Earlier on, when Jono was telling that story that of the person that I think it was like all the bullets inside of that body, and then the body started talking to him.
Yeah, and grabbed his arm.
Yeah, I kind of thought we were going to maybe see that, like it was going to be something that haunted him, and we were going to see this image, and I was like, okay, cool,
But
and nothing happened. What was the whole point of all that story if you're not going to bring it into the movie at some point. So again, it's part of the whole boring dialogue of 30 minutes, But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm saying a lot of negative stuff, but I did like the movie.
Yeah, I did like the movie too.
I don't want to feel like I'm, I mean,
there was little things with it, like you guys, that it didn't, maybe could have been done better or explained better, but
it's not a bad movie. I would absolutely say go check it out if you haven't seen it. I would say check the movie out because acting is really good, man.
Yeah.
I love all these characters. I love the music.
For a low budget movie, it didn't seem like it was a bad movie. I mean, the acting was bad.
So I mean, we're here, Donovan, at the tail end of the movie, right? What do we have here? Okay, so we know Jono gets glass in his eye. I don't know. Let's just say he's dead or he's been taken over by some entity.
I mean, the only thing was kind of skipped was Rosentalk getting stabbed and then his blood being drunk.
Yeah, that was a cool.
And he seemed to know that they needed blood.
No, I think Albrecht,
the doctor
kind of knows that they like blood, but I think this guy didn't know until like his blood was being sucked by the thing through the cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a cool part, right? I mean, it was cool. And then he
tells Funes to clean up the blood because they didn't want to leave any blood around.
Yeah, don't leave any blood around. And then I know we got the doctor, it was called Dr. A. She's in the other house and she's
looking at the crack that goes through Alicia's house. Or wait,
no, I think it's Clara and Juan's house.
Yeah,
maybe?
Clara and Juan's house over to Walter's house.
Yeah, and that crack got bigger and bigger. Didn't it?
Yeah, and then she could see
Walter. She said it was Walter. She started talking to him. It didn't look like Walter, but she said Walter, and he started to like talk or something, and he had like like those kind of glowy evil eyes. And, But then that's when I think Funes came into the house.
Yeah, and he's talking,
and
and she's like explaining about the dimensions.
Yeah,
and then through the water, and like Donovan was saying, that they can travel through the water and through the pipes. And
and then we see a hand come out of the wall and
grabs her head and snaps her neck.
Yeah, and grabs her. And
what would we call this? Because that wasn't the.
I don't know what we call this. This is just, I don't know if this is.
Definitely wasn't.
Is this Walter? Is this a over time? This is what he became inside of these walls. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know this is the time where Funes has the heart attack. He then wakes up and. He also has a hearing aid because he doesn't hear well.
Yeah.
Guy's
all messed up.
He's all fucked up.
But he doesn't look older than 50.
He looks like he's in his late 30s, early 40s. Man.
Yeah. Maybe 45 tops.
Maybe, but being, I guess, health problems and being a police officer and the stress, who knows? So he's retiring, but we get some paranormal, stuff moving around in the house. I think he ends up back over at Alicia's house, right? Because, is that right?
Yeah. Alicia.
Because she confronts him about, the video footage that the boy's friend recorded on his phone.
She was mad at him for that. And she's mad at him for burying the son.
With the concrete
blocks, in his coffin. And then he's like, "You got to take me to the hospital." So she was going to drive him to the hospital. But he looks in the back seat and there's little Nino in the back seat, little corpse boy.
Yeah, nope.
And he's like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, that's a good call. I'll just drive myself.
Yeah, he's like, So he gets in the car and he gets the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
He leaves. So he drives probably a few turns, like maybe 5 or 6 streets and turns. And then he stops the car, talks to one of his cops that's on the street. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this is where I was feeling a lot of tension because I was thinking something's going to be in his back seat.
That's what I thought.
Something was going to run up on the car and knock on the window.
Yes, yeah.
I was thinking something followed him.
Yes.
That, he didn't get away from it.
I thought that too. Yeah.
And the whole time he's talking and he's just resting. He's just, you're like, as an audience member, you're waiting for it to happen.
Yes.
Because I've seen enough of these fucking
enough
movies.
of these movies. Yeah.
But nothing happened. So
No.
there was never a payoff.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't at all. But we forgot to mention that little part though. As he's driving off, the doctor's head is all twisted, and she's running from.
That's right.
That was eerie, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah,
we see the figure, and we're not quite sure. And then as it gets closer, it's like the doctor and the head's like twisted.
Backwards.
I don't know, backwards, and it's that was
Doctor.
all right. Yeah, that was cool. And then but he talks to one of his, I don't know, cops, and then ends up back at the house and at Alicia's house.
Yeah, with the gasoline.
Because he's like, I'm going to torch all these houses. That's always seems to be like the solution is, all of these things are happening. Let's just destroy the house. Let's burn it down, whatever, But as we know, we've seen plenty of movies. Usually the spirit or whatever this is, the entity follows them.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't. It's not the house itself. It's usually they attach to you.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's gonna burn this down. He sees Alicia has she hung herself or did?
Oh, so when he walks back in the house, we see somebody in the doorway. But we didn't make it, it was really fast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking, you didn't see that fucking person on the doorway. What the hell?
Yeah.
And he's like dumping the gas, and he comes to the little Nino's bedroom, creeps it open.
That got
me. And then
yeah.
There's like nothing in there, and he's looking at the empty bed. And then that little Nino fucking jumped out, little corpse boy jumps out.
I knew this was going to happen, and he still got me.
Yeah, he's throwing the gas on his door.
He's like, fuck this, I'm burning this place down.
And then you come over, and then he sees Alicia had hung herself, and that's what we originally saw when he walked into the house.
Did you think Alicia was going to maybe kind of reach out or
grab
something
him or something
again? Like I don't know, and maybe they did it on purpose because we were expecting it and it didn't happen.
Yeah, and
he gets up close to her and nothing happens, and then he starts throwing gasoline on her too.
Yeah, he lights everything on fire.
Yeah, so lights everything on fire. Oh, he tries to though, remember? And then the match kept getting. Getting blown out, and then we see was it Jono? Jono is there, and he's blowing out the match, man,
with his glass eyes.
With his glass eyes. Yeah. But see, this is where I get a little confused. So the matches get blown out, but then he shoots. He shoots his gun, and maybe the spark lights. I don't know. Did I miss something?
I don't think that would happen. But
I don't think it would happen.
That's what happens.
Is that what we're to believe?
Yeah, he
happened?
shoots the gasoline with his gun, and the bullet puts
sparks
it on fire.
And it sets the house on fire. Yeah. And then at this point, aren't we back at this? I don't know wherever Juan is being. Is he in a prison? Is that what this is?
I'm thinking,
or is this a medical facility?
I'm thinking it's a mental institution.
Okay,
but it's a year later.
Yes, a year later.
So and then he's sitting there with like another council of 3 people.
Yes,
and I'm like, oh, that's weird,
And I almost thought that the 3 previous people weren't real. Like maybe. These people came to you, but they had been dead for years. Or just, I don't know,
yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
Like I thought that was what's going to happen here, but no, none of that happened.
They're asking him questions, about, did you know, Venus? How well did you know Alicia? Did you?
Yeah, just,
and he's like, I've been in here for a year. He's like, I met these people. They showed him the pictures of the 3 people that he met with a year before.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, I talked to them and,
Yeah, just, I don't know. I thought it was going to go somewhere else with this dialogue.
But then, they're talking to him and then he's like, well, who's that guy over there sitting over there? That he's got a burnt face.
Yeah. And of course they turn around. There's nothing there.
And it was supposed to be Rosentalk.
Was it?
Yeah, because he said, well, he's like, is sitting over there. He must have came in with you guys, but he's got a burnt face.
And we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, and we didn't see it. It's just he sees it.
Yeah,
but it's.
But why? Okay, again, none of it's explained. Why does he see this? Is it the fact that each person that lived in these 3 homes was dead except for him? and this was now they had to get him. I don't know. I
mean, you know, the only thing I can think of is that because he's lived there, he's sensitive to it, and that's why he can see.
Maybe,
you know,
maybe.
Who knows? But then they're like, what? And they keep turning their heads, so there's nobody there. But then they see the chair move.
Yeah, the chair. Yeah,
the chair moved, and they're like, what the fuck? And then that was cheap with the fucking chair coming.
It was whatever. It was a little CGI chair
flying into the screen, and that was the
end of the movie. I mean, yeah, you know.
I didn't care for that.
No, I thought the ending could have been better.
It could have been better.
You know, I kind of felt like they were going. That was they could have went somewhere with that.
That was a little bit of a like, okay, and Donovan probably knows this. But, you know, when somebody doesn't know how to like kind of wrap up the movie, they do a little cheap thing like that just to.
There was like songs back in the 80s and the 90s that whenever they would end, they would just fade out.
Yeah.
That's like what this movie did.
Yeah,
it did. Faded
like
out.
How do we end this in a cool way? Well, I don't know. So let's just fade it out. And so yeah, this was like when a horror movie wants to end, you just end on like a cheap little scare or like a jump thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what they did.
That's what they did here. Yeah.
Yeah, and even that whole scene was like, okay, well, the houses were burnt, but we still have like this one extraneous character that was part of it. So let's pop in back him. He's going to end our sandwich narrative. And then we'll just have a like cute little scare at the end. The movie's over. Like I said, this presentation of this movie is like weird. You know, it's like a Frankenstein type of movie where you have like these sort of vignettes, like these scary vignettes of what happened to two of them. And then you watch the kid and Alicia and the cops for the bulk of the rest of it. Then you go back to the second one or the first one or whatever. And then that's how you end the movie. I don't think it's very effective. You know, I don't think this movie was all that great. I think you guys enjoyed it more than I did. I enjoyed most of it. Or I'm sorry, I enjoyed most of like two scenes, and that was about it. And that was the Clara scene, some of the Walter stuff.
Yeah.
And then the cabinet stuff. So this movie was kind of so-so for me.
Yeah.
But you're totally right. You know, it's just like, okay. It's like the 80s way of ending horror movies too, you know? Like either had a cliffhanger and usually that cliffhanger was like a scary ending. Like, ooh, this was like an ooh ending, but it's not like a satisfying movie ending.
Yeah.
It's just like an exclamation mark at the end of a sentence.
Yeah. 80s did that because they left it open for sequels. I mean, you know, they did that all the time with them. Yeah. How's this movie going to do? You know, and then it's like, oh, it bombed. Okay, well, whatever. You know, there's no sequel, but we ended it that way, you know. I think Night of the Creeps did that, you know. I mean, hell, we could probably talk about 100 different movies that did that.
Well, I can think of recent movies that did what this movie did. Like Sinister had that, you know, Mr. Boogedy. Or, you know, remember he popped into the screen really quick.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and the last little shock to the audience.
You know, it's tough with this, man, because I don't hate this movie at all. I do like this movie. Would I ever watch it again? Probably not.
Nah.
I would definitely not buy it. I would recommend it to someone, especially that are into horror movies or especially, you know, ghost paranormal type movies. I would say absolutely check it out.
I'm actually glad that I saw it on Shudder because
and not when blind bought it or something.
Well, the funny thing is, it's, you know, because like Netflix, Shudder, you know, it pretty much keeps its content on its site.
Oh, okay.
And they don't make physical Blu-rays and DVDs.
Oh, okay.
For the occasional, well, this is actually coming out because people have been wanting this. This is actually coming out at the end of this month. And I'm glad that I didn't blind buy this.
There you go.
Because I can recommend it to somebody.
Yeah.
But would I want to own this? Probably not.
I just don't see myself ever watching it again. It's not that it's a bad movie. There are plenty of movies that I'll watch once and I'll like it, but I'm not going to watch it again.
Yeah.
It had a lot of great elements to this movie.
Yeah.
But just didn't all mesh together well.
Right.
And way too many unanswered questions. I don't want that with a horror movie. I want to know when I'm from start to finish. I don't mind a surprise ending as long as you explain it to me. But I don't want to leave a movie going, God damn it. Do I got to jump online and find out what a million other people are saying, and maybe it's accurate or maybe it's not. It's just some interpretation. I don't want that. I want to know. I don't want any gray area. I want to know what's happening. And that didn't have this.
Yeah.
Still not a bad movie though. So anyways, anything else that we want to talk about? I think we hit everything.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Cool. All right, then I guess that'll do it for this episode. Join us next week, Morris. You and I are going to be talking about Piranha 3D.
Cool.
All right. See you guys then. Thanks again for listening. Make sure you tell everyone about our Ear for Fear podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ear for Fear. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There you can keep up to date on news, events, and episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you come back and get an earful.